Right, so welcome everybody. Today we're going to be doing a little bit longer topic. We're going to be talking about the Sinawali Matrix. So in the Inosanto family, we talk about Sinawali, which is a woven pattern, or like the act of weaving. And we're talking about using two sticks, weaving them in and out, so usually right hand and then left hand and then right hand and then left hand, rather than a bunch of right hand stuff followed by a bunch of left hand stuff. There's some variations, there's some exceptions to that, but mostly interweaving right and left together. The most well-known of which is probably our Backhand Six pattern, which we've done a whole bunch, right, where I slash, slash, tap, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand. So if you think about that as like our default version, these are all going to be variations on that. But what we're going to look at is taking either the forehand or the backhand motion for 6 counts, somewhere in there, some variation of forehand and backhand. So we break it down into 3 count beats, and we can do the same thing on the right and the left, or we can do variations where we mix and match. But for right now, let's stick to the same on the right and the left, just for simplicity's sake. So looking at the pattern, we usually lay this out in 8 different iterations of, I have 3 counts, and I'm going to mix either forehand or backhand. So 2 to the 3rd is 8. So the first one is forehand, forehand, forehand. And Guru Inosanto uses this a whole bunch. He usually says inward and backhand. I'm going to try and stick to forehand just because it's what we've been using more. But if I screw up, that's what I mean when I say inward. So first one, forehand, forehand, forehand. Starting with my open chamber in Avyakta, I'm going to forehand, forehand, forehand. Then I'm going to repeat on the left side. That's what takes our 3 count to a 6 count. Forehand, forehand, forehand. So starting on the right, 1, 2, 3. Starting on the left, 1, 2, 3. Put them together, that makes 6. You may recognize this as our cob drill, just smashing, hacking on both sides. But breaking it down, thinking about this as one of our Sinawali, now I'm going inward, 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 inward. Or forehand, forehand, forehand. The second one, forehand, forehand, backhand. So forehand, forehand, backhand. Repeat on the left. Forehand, forehand, backhand. Now, instead of all witticks, like with the cob, with all forehand, now I'm going to be mixing in some forehands and some lobticks and some witticks. So wittick, hack and retract, lobtick, slash through. So inward, inward, backhand, or forehand, forehand, backhand. In this version, we're looking at slash through, hack, slash through. Lobtick, wittick, lobtick, lobtick, wittick, lobtick. The next one is forehand, backhand, forehand, and we just looked at this, right? This is Redondo 6. So forehand, backhand, forehand, forehand, backhand, forehand. And if you need help on this one, check out the other videos, either talking about just the Redondo itself, or talking about Redondo 6. Forehand, backhand, forehand. Number 4 is the classic, is Backhand 6. Forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand. And again, all 4 of these have really just been combinations of inward or backhand, forehand or backhand, angle 1 or angle 2, and just weaving the right and the left together. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 are sort of the inverse of the other ones. So if we take every time it says forehand, just replace it with backhand and vice versa. That's how we get the second 4. So the first one is all backhands. And with this, there's a couple variations. There's a couple different ways that I like to do it. The simplest, if you're having trouble, is just to start in cruzada, start in this crossed position, and basically do cob, but backhand. So I hack, 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 hack. I'm going backhand, 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 backhand. I think this one's a little bit boring, but if it's a matter of just like getting used to doing these backhand hacks, it's great. Make sure you're not running into yourself here. Don't try and clip your elbow too much. 1, 2, 3. Then left side, 1, 2, 3. The one that I think is more fun, we call Backhand 6. So Backhand 6, I'm going to start in my closed chamber, just like normal. But instead of slashing through with this forehand, my angle 1, I'm instead going to come over the top for a backhand redondo, an angle 2 redondo. So I hit and retract to my left side. Left stick now slashes through, just like it kind of always does. Right stick, hack, and retract. So just like Heaven Six, 1, 2, 3, the only difference is the first beat is that backhand redondo. 2, 3, same as before. The tricky bit is making it nice and smooth. So instead of always starting here, 1, 2, 3, pause, I want to start thinking about how can I flow these two sides together? And the answer is, as I do that second shot, my like number 2 and number 5 shot, I use that and turn it into that backhand redondo. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So each of these shots should be a backhand. I come over the top, backhand, retract to the same side, slash through. That's what becomes my redondo, to come over and back again. So here, I do one more backhand Wittig as I set up that redondo. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. So all backhands. The next one would be backhand, forehand, forehand. So again, thinking about starting from open chamber, I'm going to redondo over for a backhand. Forehand, forehand. Backhand, forehand, forehand. Backhand, forehand, forehand. Backhand, forehand, forehand. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You can think about just using your lob ticks, or you can play with it and make it a redondo, right? So I backhand redondo around to the forehand, or I backhand and just slash through for the forehand. So either way, play with both. So I've got backhand, forehand, forehand, backhand, forehand, forehand. More of a slash through versus redondo over the top. It almost feels like I'm hitting and rewinding to the other side, which is fun. So the last two, I've got backhand, forehand, backhand, and backhand, backhand, forehand. So we'll go backhand, forehand, backhand first. So starting off in my closed chamber, if you're still thinking about starting with the right hand, actually I want to start on my left side. So right hand, backhand, left hand, forehand, right hand, backhand. I cut all the way through and now we're here. So Wittig, lob tick, lob tick. Wittig, lob tick, lob tick. Backhand, forehand, backhand. Backhand, forehand, backhand. If you notice, as you get going with this, it just becomes Heaven Six again. Backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand. As we go through, it becomes indistinguishable from Heaven Six, but try and break it down just enough so that you're putting the emphasis on a different spot. You're putting your period at a different place in the sentence. You're putting the emphasis at a different place in that musical line. So now I like to think of this as this closed chamber high instead of having my right stick low. So I go backhand and tuck low. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Backhand, forehand, backhand. The last one, same idea. It's going to be Heaven Six from a different point in the phase. So now I'm going to start from crissata, from this crossed up position. So starting with my right hand again, backhand, slashing through, left hand, backhand, and retract, right hand, backhand, slashing through. So backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, backhand, backhand, forehand, back, back, forward. So again, we're just looking at Heaven Six, but from a different position, starting from crissata. I like these last two because it forces you to rethink about the drill in a different way. It also forces you to think about, if I'm here instead of here, if I'm not in the same position that I'm used to, can I still do something effective? If you're in crossed position, maybe I'm getting ready for a root block, maybe I've just cut through and I didn't think to get this one on the other side, get it free, whatever. I happen to be here. How can I use my striking to set up something else? The other thing that's really useful for these last two especially is thinking about not just doing the same thing on the right and the left, but what if I mix? So what I'd like to do is take these 8 combos and then mix and match. If you've got an 8-sided die, roll 2 8-sided dies and see what numbers come up, and then mix and match. So let's say forehand, forehand, forehand will be my first one, and then, I don't know, backhand, inward, or backhand, forehand, backhand. So forehand, forehand, forehand for my right side. For my left side, I wanted to do backhand, forehand, backhand. So I would go 1, 2, 3, backhand, forehand, backhand. And now I'm back to the top. 1, 2, 3, backhand, forehand, backhand. So it becomes a mental challenge of how do I use my lob tick and my wit tick and my redondo to set myself up for the right combination. Forehand, forehand, forehand. I already chambered this across so that I can go backhand, forehand, backhand. I could also have gone forehand, 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 backhand with a redondo to come back around. I could go forehand, 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 redondo here, backhand, forehand, backhand. So it becomes that task of trying to figure out what's the smoothest way to do this, what's the most interesting way to do this. You can really mix and match. So that's the first part of the Sinawali Matrix, taking this forehand and backhand in 3 counts and then combining them into 6 and either doing the same thing on the right and the left or doing different things. The second piece, and I'll let you play with this on your own, is we do the same thing with high and low. So high, 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 high. I could also go high, low, high, high, low, high. It's our old friend standard 6. I could go low, low, high, low, low, high, high, low, low, high, low, low. So you make a second grid of high and low and all the permutations therein, and then you can roll some D8s or go online and use a random number generator for what are you doing on the forehand backhand side, and then also what are you doing on the high and low side, and it really gives you a lot to work with. So give this a try. So the Sinawali Matrix guru Inosanto uses this a lot, and I think it really does a lot to help charge your brain and make you think about training in a different way and force you into doing some interesting coordination drills that you might not necessarily think of. But when you make it a little bit random, when you force yourself to do whatever the dice bring you or whatever the random number generator brings you, that makes you train different combinations and tries to put your coordination in a new light that you may not have done before. So give it a shot. This is our Sinawali Matrix from the Inosanto family Kali system. Thanks very much.